Quinn, you ready for this?
I'm ready, man. I'm always ready. Come on, you know me.
I mean, you look the same.
I do look the same. So do you.
You just have hair on your face.
I know. You look great, man. It's been a long time.
It has been. All right, let's get this rolling. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, pals. Welcome to the SEM podcast. We're back for another episode, and today, Jack and Zach are here with our friend Quinn Coford. Quinn, where are you joining us from today?
I'm Centerville, Utah, my guy.
My gosh, you moved like 5 miles away from your house in Bountiful, didn't you?
I don't like change. So I went about 5 minutes away. It's as far as I could
go. Teach their own. That's good. All right, Quinn.
That's
so here's the format. I'm sure you've listened to it, but we'll just remind you. We're going to talk pre-mission and talk about anticipating getting your call and going to Scotland. Then we're going to jump over the mission, talk about life from Scotland to now, and then we'll come back and go through the mission. So the floor is yours. Rock and roll. We're excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for reaching out to me, Zach. We were, I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but you were my zone leader, correct, I think, in Aberdeen. That was my first area. So I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah, it's been a long time since we've seen each other. So it's good to see you.
It has.
Jack, I have no idea who you are, but your beard is awesome.
Thank you. It's good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I left before you got there.
Yeah, okay. That's okay. You got a BYU shirt on, so I'll forgive you.
Thank you. Zach,
give me a break.
I'm forgetting. Zach's a big youth. That's going to be a problem. So you want me to talk about pre-mission? That's where you want me to start.
Yeah, start pre-mission. Give us timelines of when you got your call, when you entered MTC, and all that.
Yeah, great. So I am a twin. So my twin brother and I, my birthday's in May. So we started filling out our paper. I mean, wow, our papers, man, it's been a long time. It must have been probably around January or February we started the process. I think it was January we started the process. Bishop's interviews, stake president's interviews, paperwork, all that good stuff. And submitted. And I received my call. No, wow, I'm way too... Man, you're asking me to think back a long time. I'm an old man. I'm 35 now. It must have been before that because I received my call in April. And I remember I did not want to learn a language. That is the last thing I wanted to do, to learn the language. But I was greedy enough that I didn't want to learn a language, but I did not want to stay stateside. Because, everyone doesn't want to serve in Idaho or anywhere that doesn't seem cool. When at the end of the day, all missions are really the same. But when we say we go to Scotland, everyone freaks out because how many people actually go to Scotland? So I didn't want to go stateside, but I didn't want to learn a language. And we got our call in the mail, like us old timers used to do, not online like they are now, or texted to your phone or however it's done. My brother and I got our call on the exact same day. And my parents had a bunch of people over in my basement. I remember I invited a whole bunch of friends, and my brother opened his call first, and he went to Argentina. And then I was like, oh no, I'm going to get stuck with some boring mission, and everyone's going to, like do the weird, awkward gasp, like, oh, we're so excited for you. And I read it, and it was Edinburgh, Scotland, and I remember reading it out loud, and I said Edinburgh, probably like most people do when they read it. And I was so excited, and I kept reading, and it said you're going to learn English, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. If that's English, then I don't know English. And I was way excited, man. I was way excited. I was born and raised in the church. My parents were extremely active, and I wanted to go on a mission from the time I was young. Now I had, we go through high school and we think we kind of lose a tiny bit of focus because we think we're too cool for school and the church and all that stuff. But I was so excited to go, and I entered the MTC. I want to say May 5th. May 5th is when I entered the MTC, and it was the Preston MTC, and I didn't know much about that. No one did really. My dad didn't know much about it. None of my family really knew much about it because it's such a small MTC. Everyone just figured you'd go to the Mecca down there in Provo. But I didn't go there at all. I don't think any missionary that goes to Scotland goes there at all. I flew right to England. It's Preston, right? It's in Preston, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
You're right.
Yeah. I flew right to Preston on the plane with all the other missionaries going over there. And when I got there, there was only, I want to say there was about 35 to 40 missionaries that were in there. So not a lot.
Wow.
But, yeah, that was really different.
That's bigger than my group.
Yeah, I think it was a bigger group than most. Aren't most about 20?
Yeah, somewhere like that. What was yours, Jack?
Mine had 60, maybe a little over 60. It was a pretty big group, though.
Oh, you had a big group, too. Yeah.
I came out January, so my group was, I want to say like 20, maybe 15. It was pretty small, like really intimate. So everybody had different experience.
Yeah, so
cool.
I remember that when I got my call, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but I will. I don't think anybody's ever really ready. They're probably more prepared nowadays than ever, maybe more than ever. But I didn't know a lot. I just knew I believed in the church and that a mission is what you're supposed to do. And I was excited about it because I wanted to go explore a different part of the world and learn and grow. And I believed in the atonement and the restoration and all of those things that I wanted to talk to people about. So I was really excited, but I didn't really know what to expect. My dad would tell me his mission stories and friends would tell me their mission stories, but Preach My Gospel was pretty dang new when I got my call. I think it came out. I mean, did it come out before you were out there, Zach?
I was the first group of missionaries that got the actual like printed bound manual in the MTC. We've talked to other missionaries that got like photocopy versions of a few portions like the lessons, but I was the first group in January of 2005. So it was still pretty new.
Yeah. So we got that obviously, and I would look through that. But I wasn't really prepared as much as I wish I would have been looking back. And I had some really cool experiences, even a cool experience on the flight over that kind of changed my vision of how things were going to go. I could always talk to people. I love to talk to people. I love to joke around and have a good time. But I didn't really understand how importance, maybe not the word, but I'll use it. Important, what I was about to go do was. Just a quick story. When I was on the plane from Salt Lake City to Scotland, there was a guy sitting next to me, and they don't put the missionaries by each other. At least they didn't on my flight, and I think I know why they do that. They want you to talk to people and reach out a little bit. And there was a guy next to me, and he said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm going to serve a mission for my church." And he said, "I remember," and I've shared this story many times with the young men that I've been in the Young Men's for like 15 years, man. I cannot get out of it. And I've shared this story many times. I know. He said, "Listen, this is a long flight." This was from, I think we had a layover in Texas to Preston. So this is going to be a long flight. But what I'll do is the last hour of the flight, I'll let you tell me whatever you want to about your church. You can teach me about your church, and I'll listen. And I was like, "Oh no, dang it! What the heck am I going to tell this guy?" And I had no idea. So I sat there and I read as many pages of the Book of Mormon I could. I'm like looking through Preach My Gospel, reading the instruction manual they give you for the mission. I'm just like, "Oh no, what I'm going to tell this guy?" And he's like, "All right, you got an hour. Let's talk." And I'm pretty sure I told him about Jesus for like 5 minutes and Joseph Smith, and didn't do a great job at explaining who Joseph Smith was or how important he was. And it was a total flop, huge flop. And I will never forget that, ever. And I remember just going, "Okay, I've got to figure this out because I can't let that happen ever again." I had a chance and I blew it.
Strike one.
So, yeah, strike big. I swing hard, as hard as you can. and I missed. It's like when you get a pitch in softball, they just lob it to you, and you swing and miss, and everyone laughs. That's what happened to me on that flight. So yeah, that was actually a great experience because it really did change the way I looked at things. And I'm sure we'll get into Pratt's Hill. That was another big turning point for me. So I got to, I remember we got there super early, went to the MTC, and I liked the MTC. It was very small. We didn't do the sports thing because I don't know if they did it there at that time. I can't remember, but we would just straight through classes all day long. Because I was only in there for 12 days. I was only in the MTC for 12 days.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
My watch is thinking I'm talking to it. I'm sorry. So I was in there for 12 days and then got sent up to Scotland. And then that's when all the mission stuff started.
12 days is a short stint. That's interesting.
It was only 12 because that's why they did away with the physical activity. I don't know why they needed to speed it up, but they did. I don't know if they were piloting some new program, but yeah, it was just 12 days. And it still felt like an eternity in there, honestly, because it's so small. It's tiny in there. Yeah, going to the temple was great. We did go to the temple. I don't know how many people get to do that with the TC, but that was the only time in 2 years that I went to the temple because there's not one in Scotland. And I'll tell you, at conference, I listen, hoping someday there'll be a temple in Scotland. I'm sure there will someday. But yeah, that was a great experience too, going to the temple there.
For sure. So you entered the MTC in May, and did you go home May of 2008 then? Is that right?
Yeah, I entered May 2006, and I got home in April 2006 because of visa stuff.
April, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's skip over the mission real quick and talk about life in Scotland and what you've been up to in the last, 15, 20 years. It's been about that. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. It is crazy. It has been that. So I once I got home from my mission, I went to school. I went to LDS Business College here in Salt Lake. Actually, back up. I went to Utah Valley University and had met and was dating my now wife at the time. We grew up in the same ward. She was way younger than me, so I didn't pay any attention to her before I left on my mission. But when I got home, I definitely saw her and recognized her. So we started dating I got home in April, and her and I started dating in August. And I am a little embarrassed to say that she had just graduated high school, but I'll be honest on this podcast. She had just graduated high school. I'm that creepy return missionary going after the high school girls. She was graduated though, and her and I started dating. And then I moved down to Provo to go to Utah Valley University, and I only went there for one semester, and then missed her too much. And so I moved back home and started going to LDS Business College, and her and I continued to date. We dated for a year. I actually asked her parents if I could marry her 3 times before they said yes. That's a fun little tidbit. They
oh my gosh!
I think every parent of an 18-year-old girl has that a return missionary wants to get married and do all the stuff. And we're too young to even save 10 cents, but we have all the faith in the world. We can make it happen, right? So, yeah, I asked them 3 times, and on the 3rd time, they actually said no. And then a week later, they came to me and they're like, "Okay, you can marry her." They just gave up. They're like, "We're so sick of this kid."
It was probably your persistence you learned on your mission.
That's for sure. Never give up. That's what I learned out there. And never get offended, because the Scots, they're great people, but they can every now and again say something offensive, even not meaning it. And I learned to just, whatever. So we got engaged after a year of dating. I was still going to school at LDS Business College. She was working as a physical therapist aide. And then we got married in August. So this August, this month, the 28th, will be our 14-year anniversary. Or is it 13? I better get this right, because she's probably going to listen to this. I'm sure it's 14. We got married in 2009. So we got married August 2009.
13. 13.
13. Thank you, Zach. Thank you. I'd have paid for that one. That's for sure.
We can delay publishing this a year if we need to.
Can you edit this? Can you edit this so that never happens?
Oh my gosh. I don't know your wife's name, but he loves you. That's all that matters. So
Jacqueline, I do love you.
There you go.
You're great. So we got married. I continued to do the school thing and was working. I was working full time at a reading publishing company. So I was selling the reading program to schools, and then going to school at night at LDS Business College, studying accounting and business management. And then I got my associate's degree from LDS Business College, continued to work with that company, and then went to BYU Idaho online to finish my business management degree. Got that, switched careers. I moved over to the family company, which is in apartment complex, access control and security for multifamily housing all over the country. And I've worked there now for 10 years. I've been there for the past 10 years. In those 10 years of marriage, we've had 3 amazing children. We've got an 8-year-old daughter named Collins, a 6-year-old son named Knox, and then the baby, she's 3, her name's Ren. And they're amazing. They're amazing. And we're blessed to have them. So now what I do is I wake up, I go to work, come home and be with the babies. My life.
Sounds pretty amazing, man. Good
That's
for you.
Great. That's great.
Centerville, Utah. Lucky to have you. So take us back to the mission. I mean, we can go through and talk about areas you served in, companions you served with, but, stop along the way, share some of your favorite experiences, and yeah.
Yeah, when I got the email that you sent me, Zach, and I was reminiscing, and to be honest, I think about my mission every day. I know people say that, that's like just what people say, but it is true. I think about it every single day. Maybe not for a long period of time, but I think, man, they were just great times. I loved my mission. I will never have one negative thing to say ever about my mission. And there were hard days. There were definitely hard days. Especially in Scotland, there are hard days because the work is relatively slow compared to your twin brother who's down in Argentina. Every door he knocks on, he's baptizing somebody. They're jumping into the water. And you have to read his letters, and you're like, dang it. So, but I loved it. I loved Scotland. From the day I got there, I loved it. So when we got there, it was President and Sister Vreens who were the mission presidents. I want to say it was like 4 weeks that they were my mission, the mission presidents. And they had me, I was trained by Elder Bachholt. I don't know if you remember him, Zach. You were there. I think you and him lined up pretty close to the same time.
He was a little bit younger than me, but I do remember Blake, yes.
That's right. Sorry, I should call them their first names. I don't know a lot of their first names.
It's not that important. Listen, I've been combing every social media platform to try and find people, and so I know everybody's first name. I don't expect everybody who lived with them for a few weeks to remember their names, but it's all good.
Because we get in trouble if I just remember calling his first name the first couple of days. It's like, stop. I'm like, dang it, I keep forgetting. I'm sorry, I'm brand new. So my first area was in Peterhead, which was about an hour north of Aberdeen. Tiny little fishing town, but we covered geographically a pretty big area. So we had a car up there. And I remember that our ward, was it a ward? No, yeah, it was a ward, but the meeting was held in a school, which I thought was crazy. I'd never been to anything but a Utah church in a nice church building. And we were in a school, and the ward was very small, but it was a really, really good, strong ward. The members that were there were great, and some of them were coming from pretty far away, especially it's all relative, right? When you're in Utah and you can walk to your church building in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
we covered a pretty big area. And so we had a car. We had members that we'd drive to that were an hour and a half away. We were one of the furthest north areas Peterhead was. Elgin and Inverness were the ones that were even further north than us, but Peterhead was up there pretty far. Anyway, it was a small area, and back then, when I first got there, member missionary work, there was rumblings of member missionary work. The term was starting to float around, but it was still very much chapping, which I haven't used that term in so long. I can't remember. I can't believe I just remembered it. It was still very much chapping on doors and walking in the rain and, yeah, doing all that stuff. So I remember a story that I'll never forget. I tell this story all the time, too. There's certain stories in your mission that change not only your mission, but your life and your testimony, and you never forget them. No matter how old you get, no matter how often, no matter how much life throws at you, you'll never forget them. And my first one of those was when I was in Peterhead. It was my second day there, and Elder Bockel and I were sitting at the table doing our evening planning, and he said, "Hey, I want you to pick the area where we go chap tomorrow." And I'm brand new, right? And I'm just like, no, I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy. Just, you should do it. You're the trainer. He's like, no, just do it. You can't choose wrong. I mean, no one's going to answer no matter where we go. Just choose. So I'm like, okay. And I remember flipping through we had a map, and I remember looking through the map, and a street stuck out to me. And I was like, oh man, that name that's sticking out to me. But I didn't really think about it too much. I was just like, I wanted to kind of go close to where we had been the previous days so we could finish up these streets and highlight the map, right? Oh, that street's done. Highlight that map and do what we're supposed to do. But it kept sticking out to me, and I finally said to him, I said, hey, look, I think we should go here. It was called Buchanan Street. And he's like, okay, yeah, let's go there. And I can't even believe I remember the street name. That's the first time I've heard the street name in a long time, too, but I remember it. And so we went there, and like the second or third door we knocked on, this little old lady answered the door. And it took her probably 15 minutes to get to the door. And she answered the door, and we started talking to her. And Elder Bockel started, I mean, usually the first thing you talk about is like families or the restoration. You guys know the 60-second elevator pitch to get people to listen to us and understand how important this is. And Elder Bockel asked her about her family, and she told us that she just lost her husband. He just died. And she was in her 70s. And he quickly jumped into the plan of salvation. And I'm brand new, so I'm listening to him like, wow, this is great. And this lady's actually listening. And he said, we can't come inside right now because she was a single woman and he knew the rules. I was like, oh, let's go inside. We can baptize this lady right now. It's like, no, we can't. I don't know. I'm so new. I'm like, break the rules. Let's do this. And so we set an appointment to come back later. And we talked for probably about 30 minutes anyway. She ended up getting baptized in the Stake Center in Aberdeen. And she was amazing. She came to church every single week. She was picked up by, excuse me, I'm a little bit sick. So she was picked up by a member, brought to church every single week. And she has since passed away. But last I had heard, and I can't confirm it, is that she'd gone to the temple for herself and she was faithful up until the very end. And that was just one of those things that I just go, holy cow. If this was the only reason that I was sent to this place, it was worth it. Peterhead, Scotland. That woman changed my life forever because the funny thing is, she was terrified of water. And she didn't tell us that till her baptism. Terrified. Like, people are scared of water. She was terrified of water. It took us about 8 tries to baptize her, and we had to dunk her in forwards and clear everybody out except for the witnesses because she just couldn't do it. But I remember her saying, like, this is worth it. This is worth it to me. I'm terrified of water, but this is worth it. And she was the only baptism I had in that area. And I was brand new when it happened. And it was great. It was everything I needed to kind of give me that boost because Scotland is not a easy mission for teaching and baptizing by any sense of the word. But for me, that was like, okay, there's people out here that want to hear what we have to say, not only need it, but want to hear it. So that was great. I was with Elder Bachholt for 3 months, and then I got Elder Price. Do you remember Elder Price, Zach?
I do remember Elder Price. Yeah,
he's actually from Bountiful as well, where I'm from.
That's right.
So we went to elementary school together, which is really funny.
I didn't know that. That's really
we did.
Quite a coincidence.
His mom was my PE teacher.
Oh my gosh!
So I know, small world even in Scotland. So him and I served together another 3 months. I'm sorry, and we had a great time. He was a very easy companion, nice kid. Really, he was great. He was great. I mean, every companionship has their stuff, right? You're literally together 24/7. But I loved him and Elder Bachholt. They were great guys, and I loved Peterhead. Peterhead was a hard area to leave, which is weird because I can smell how bad it smelled right now sitting in my car. It reeked of fish.
Yeah,
but the kebabs there were top notch, and the fish and chips.
The reason why we're laughing so hard is, and I don't know if you remember this, Quinn. So Jack was my trainer in Peterhead.
No, I didn't know that.
You did it?
No, I didn't know you served there.
Yeah, so we had a flat that was just off the roundabout on King Street. And
was it the one you'd go up the stairs?
Uh-huh.
I was in that same one, and it was 2 stories.
Yeah.
Was it?
We were like in the attic, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It must have been then. I'm sure the mission home called their same people and said, "Hey, can we rent that place again?"
That's where I learned to parallel park, man. You don't have a choice on King Street. You got to throw it in there quick, like 10 seconds flat.
That is true.
Yeah. Drift it in if you can.
Yeah,
yes, indeed. Yeah, Jack trained me there, so I learned to drive there, and I'm sure you can remember the broad dialect of the Buchan area. It's the place that if you learn Scottish there, you're good the rest of the time you're there.
Yeah. Man.
It was. I mean, Jack's told a few stories that I've forgotten about. Getting in spats with people at the post office, and getting invited into homes because they thought that we were the police. Because Jack's Jack's taller than I am, and I mean, we loved that war. The Mintlaw Academy that we went to for church.
That's right. That's right. That's what it was called. I forgot.
So I know there's a building there now.
Oh, there is. I was just going to ask you that.
Yep. Yeah, good. There is. So they finally built a small building on that lot just outside of the academy in Mintlaw. But so fond memories of Peterhead.
There was some fantastic families in that ward. Fantastic. The Prestons, They were so good to us. They would feed us every single week. There were just a lot of really good people there. Just hardworking, just disciples of Christ, man. They just did what they were asked to do, and I loved it because there are certain areas, and I learned this in Scotland. And Scotland is not necessarily, I wouldn't use the term hard, but there are certain areas where it's hard to be a member of the church. It's hard to be a member of the church everywhere. To always be an example, but to get in your car and drive to church 45 minutes on a Sunday, that's not the easiest thing to do. And to have a couple of callings because the ward's so small. I mean, I love that. I love that about the Scottish people everywhere I went. They just do their thing. I love it. So.
Agreed. 100%.
I didn't even mention Pratt's Hill.
All right. Yeah, come back to Pratt's Hill.
Oh man, Pratt's Hill. I just use that in a church talk. Actually, I probably pulled that baby out 15 to 20 times in church talks. It's just a easy story to go to, and people are just like, "Oh my gosh, you climbed a hill in Scotland and could see all of Edinburgh. This is amazing." I think you're great. It's like a 20-minute hike up a tiny little hill compared to the mountains of Utah. But yeah, that's where. First day of your mission, I'm sure everyone talks about this. First day of your mission, you climb up there with the mission president, all the other missionaries that you got in there with, and you basically dedicate your mission. And I'll never forget that day. I'll never forget that day. That was amazing. It's just a very spiritual experience. I can remember what I said in that prayer that I offered. And then you do the same the day before you go home. You climb up there and you report. And I loved that because I knew I'd given it all I had. You know, I wasn't perfect by any means, but I really dedicated myself and wanted to be a good missionary. And during our time there in Scotland, there was a lot of stuff changing, right? We were chasing a pretty steep baptism goal, which we ended up hitting. And there was just a lot of stuff changing. So we were pushed hard. The leaders pushed us hard. The mission president pushed us hard, and I loved it. So, you want me to keep going with my timeline here?
Yeah, keep going. Where did you go after Peterhead?
So after Peterhead, I went to Dundee. They moved me just a tiny bit from Peterhead down to Dundee. And my first companion in Dundee was Elder Streeter. That dude was a workhorse, man. He was a workhorse. He taught me how to knock doors and how to street contact. Like, holy cow. So I was in Dundee with him. He was leaving. I sent him home. Him and I were only companions for 6 weeks. But, man, everyone in Dundee loved Elder Streeter. And that ward in Dundee I was in the Bingham ward. There's the Bingham ward, and then I want to say Liff. The other ward.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I was in the Bingham ward, great ward, and Elder Streeter introduced me to everybody in his 6 weeks, and then I'm pretty certain he did go home. We sent him home, and then I got my boy Elder Cassidy, who I came out on the mission with. I love Elder Cassidy. And him and I were together for 4.5 months. So I was in Peterhead for 6 months. And then I was in Dundee for another 6 months. So my first year of my mission was 2 areas, 4 companions. So it's like, dang, I'm getting lucky. Most people don't get to stay that long.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I loved it. And Dundee is where we transitioned from knocking on doors to member missionary work. We were always with the members. And the Bingham ward was a really good ward to do that in because there's so many. It's a big ward for Scotland. And there were so many people who were willing to help. Elder Cassidy and I had a lot of fun. I remember it's not that bad, so I'll tell it. One time, it's not bad at all. But thinking back, I'm like, dang, we could probably got in trouble. It was Christmas, right before Christmas. And I was like, dude, we need a Christmas tree. He's like, you're right. We do need a Christmas tree. And we're in a high-rise apartment. And I look out the back window and I'm like, dude, there's a pine tree right there. Let's go cut that thing down and bring it into our apartment. And Elder Cassidy, you know him, Zach. He's like, let's do it, dude. No questions asked. So we went down there and we get there and we're like, dude, this thing is way too big. Our apartment's tiny. So we cut it halfway. We just chopped it right in half and carried it up the stairs. And I remember till the day I left, that tree was half cut. No thriving, man.
Oh my
All
gosh.
in the name of Christmas.
Oh my gosh. That's so great. Funny. My word.
I'm sure when he listens to this, he'll be laughing. That was so funny. Oh.
That's too funny.
Yeah, so I spent Thanksgiving and Christmas with him there. My first Thanksgiving and Christmas in the mission field, which were different, but I loved it because the members are so open. They come over. I mean, we were at a member's house on Christmas morning. They had us come over. We were hanging out with their kids, watching them unwrap their presents, and that's awesome because I can't imagine doing that now, inviting missionaries over to my house on Christmas morning. But they all wanted to have missionaries over and feed the missionaries. And did either of you serve in Dundee?
Not Dundee
No.
proper, but
Nope.
I had a really good relationship with the Keoghs.
Yeah,
So,
they're a great family.
President and Sister Keogh, and then I'm blanking on their oldest son's name. He was getting ready to go on his mission. Oh, come on, Quinn! You got to help me with that one. Is it Ben
I don't
Keogh?
remember. Yes,
There's
yes,
Ben
yes,
the-
yes. I knew Matt. Matt was there when I was there.
Yeah, I remember Matt. I'm gonna look him up, otherwise I'm gonna hate myself.
I think it is Ben. I
Is
still
it?
follow Matt on Facebook. Looks like he's doing good. I love that. Was a great family. Then the Snees, this Bishop Snee was the bishop of the Bingham Ward when I was there, and their family was amazing. They were a great family, actually. You know, I made some of my deepest connections in Dundee, deepest member connections in Dundee. My wife and I actually had a trip planned to go back last April, and I reached out to all these people I haven't talked to in years through Facebook, and all of them, most of them were in Dundee because I knew a lot of them. Were like, we would love to see you. We loved your time here as a missionary. Would come eat dinner with us. Let's do this. Scott Snee actually FaceTimed me the day I sent him the thing, and I haven't talked to that kid in 15 years. And he's like, dude, I can't wait. I couldn't understand what he was saying, by the way. I was like, man, you got to slow down. I cannot understand what you're saying. And he's like, oh, come on,
Quinn. It didn't come right back. Come on.
No, I wish it did. But we had to end up canceling the trip because you remember the Madsons in the Edinburgh Award? They messaged me and they were like, hey, Clint, COVID's really bad. So anyway, we're going to postpone. But yeah, that reminded me how deep the connections are, especially in areas where missionaries are so, like, they're just part of the ward. We were at the ward every Sunday. We were in members' houses every day. We just form a strong bond and an eternal friendship with these people that I'll forever be grateful for. But Dundee I loved Dundee. I loved it. It was really good for me. I had a couple baptisms there. What's funny is, and I'm not a numbers guy. I don't care. But my pattern of baptisms, I had 4 areas, and I baptized 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people in all my areas, which is just crazy. I guess I worked a little bit harder in every one of my new areas, or who knows what. But so we had. We met in Dundee. There was a lot of Chinese students that would go to the university there, and there was a road. I'm trying to remember what it was called. I can't remember what it was called. It was this huge stretch between the university to where these students would live, all up and down this place, and we would walk it all the time. It was a great area to go street contacting. And we met a guy named Ben, and he was from China. And he ended up taking the lessons from Elder Streeter and I. Elder Streeter was teaching him before I got there, and we got in real good with him over time. And we Elder Streeter, I think Elder Streeter baptized him, but he was just a great guy. I lost contact with him, but you know, I think that the way I figure it, I think they're going to be taken care of. They did what was right in the moment they felt the Spirit, and his life going back to China was not going to be easy for him to continue to practice the religion. So I think he's doing good. I like to think he's doing good. But yeah, Dundee was great. So served in Dundee for 6 months, 2 companions there. Said goodbye to Elder Cassidy and our half-cut Christmas tree. I wonder if it's grown back. I need to go see. And then I went to East Kilbride, and I became. I was with Elder Halford. Remember Elder Halford?
Okay.
English guy.
Yeah.
Great kid. That was my only. Luckily, I can say this, and I might tick some people off. My only Glasgow ties. Hallelujah. That was the only. That's as close to Glasgow as I got, and I am grateful for that. So I served in East Kilbride, which is right outside Glasgow, and I was there for 4.5 months. 3 of those months with Elder Halford, and then I trained Elder Bauckham for 6 weeks. And I was the district leader in when I got to East Kilbride. I was a district leader there for 4.5 months.
Okay.
And East Kilbride has like more roundabouts per square foot than like any place in all of the world. Wow. And I taught Elder Bauckham how to drive a manual car on the wrong side of the road, and it was terrifying. He's brand new in the country. And I remember I was just like sitting there like, wow, you're being really calm. And I'm like, we're going to die. We're definitely going to die. I just accepted I was going to die. So I was like, yeah, I'll be calm to my death. He was a horrible driver, and I hope he hears this because I'm going to call him out at the end of this. But to learn how to drive a manual with your left hand, oh man, and then on the wrong side of the road through all these roundabouts. And you guys know the roundabouts there are crazy. The roundabouts here in Utah, I don't know if you both live in Utah, they're nothing. I watch people drive these roundabouts. I'm like, come on, you got like 4 feet, go.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Over there, there's like 10 lanes in these roundabouts. You're just like, yeah, boy. Just like gunning it and closing your eyes and hoping.
Yeah.
When I lived in Texas, there was a couple roundabouts on the way to Costco, which is a regularly traveled route for our family. And it would scare my wife because I would just go. Like, I'm yielding to them. There's room, you just go.
I don't slow down. When I see roundabout, I don't slow down. I speed up, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as yield. If there's no car in your way, just plow. Keep going.
Go. And people don't understand how the lanes work either. So there's a car in the inner lane. I'm still going. I'm not slowing down. All my wife's like, stop. No, they got like 2 more turns before they're coming out of this baby.
Yeah,
I'm exit number 1. So, yeah, I taught him how to drive. Holy cow, that was terrifying. We stalled in a roundabout. I remember that.
Oh,
no. Yeah, that was bad. Somehow, well, tender mercy. That's the term I'll use. We made it out alive. But those were fun. Elder Halford is a hairdresser. That's what he did before his mission. So my hair was always looking great with Elder Halford. I never had to worry about getting my hair cut because he would take care of it. But Elder Halford and I, we had some cool experiences. We met the daughter of a less active family. She was 9, and she told her parents that she wanted to learn about the church. And so we taught her from start to finish, and she got baptized. And her parents were extremely supportive and really, really good people. And that was the first time that I'd ever seen someone that young do something so different from what their parents were doing, because their parents were not active. They had no interest in being active. She would get dropped off at church by a family member and then go to the primary with the kids, and she loved it. And she was solid. I remember she would sit there and pay such good attention to lessons we teach her. And Elder Halford was so good at, he was a good artist too, if I remember right. He was really good at just making the lessons understandable for someone who was young. I was terrible at it. But that was a great experience because, man, I can't imagine doing something like that. 9 years old, and your parents, I remember her parents were huge into, I think it was like World of Warcraft or something similar. They'd be gaming the whole time we'd be teaching her in the same room. It was really distracting, actually, but they were super cool and funny about it. And she just ate it up. She loved it. And she ended up getting baptized. And then probably one of the most memorable baptisms of my mission was in East Kilbride. It was a guy who had been taught. He was the husband of a woman who was a convert. She was extremely active, never missed church. Her name was Jean Buchanan. Great lady. And I remember we were teaching her basically the new member discussion still because she was such a recent convert and she loved having the missionaries over. And I remember saying to her one day, I was like, hey, do you mind if we ask your husband to take the lessons? And she laughed at me. I was probably the 900th missionary that had asked her that question. And she's like, yeah, he's not interested. Every missionary asks, he's not interested. And I was like, well, do you mind if I ask him? And she's like, I don't know if he'll listen. I'm like, I don't care if he says no. I can tell him no every day. I really don't care. like, do you mind? She's like, yeah, that's fine. So I asked him, and he agreed to it. And I remember the first lesson we had with him was so powerful, so powerful. It was the restoration. We taught him about the restoration on the first lesson, which, as you guys know, is not always the way you go, depending on what they need to hear or how you feel. And it was just a strong, strong lesson. And we asked him to be baptized pretty quick, and he said yes. And he did everything. Got baptized. He'd show up to church every week with his wife. And I follow them on Facebook. He's recently passed away, which I was sad to see. But was just a great guy. And it just, I mean, it wasn't me. That's what I learned over time. Like, it had nothing to do with me. I was the right time and the right place and the right prompting and acting on the prompting. That was all my job was to act on the prompting. It could have been any other missionary in that scenario. But God knows when people are ready. And he told me, he's like, oh my gosh, I've been asked by so many missionaries to receive the lesson, and there was just something different this time. I remember when we were baptizing him, oh my gosh, I forgot the story. He went to a baptism. We took him to a baptism. And he's like, I want to get baptized today. And I'm like, okay, cool. We were kind of wild back then, man. It was the Wild West for a little bit over there. And I remember him and I are changing because he asked me to baptize him. And he had on these Scottish flag boxers. And I'm like, dude, you can't wear those. We need to get you some white underwear, my guy. So we had someone run to Tesco and get him some. I'll never forget that. I was like, yes, of course, Scottish flag underwear. But he was, man, he was such a great guy. And yeah, I noticed how much it improved their lives. Like, it did everybody's, honestly. So that was great. I'll never forget that experience. That was one of the first people I told my wife about when we started talking about my mission, and she followed him on Facebook too. So I still follow his wife, but anyway. So after Dundee, 6 months, East Kilbride. I'm in East Kilbride right now. 4.5 months in East Kilbride. Then I got called to, I got moved to Edinburgh proper. And I was the Edinburgh zone leader with good old Elder McKay. You remember him?
Elder McKay. My gosh.
McKay Lynch. That's his last name. Lynch.
That's right. Elder Lynch. I was
his
like,
first name is McKay.
I was like, I only know a McKay Lynch.
Oh my gosh, I loved that kid. They whitewashed us. Is that the term? Whitewash? There's two new guys.
Yep.
They whitewashed us into. Did they? Yeah, they did. It was him and I, and we were with. It was Elder Bockel and Elder Hardy that were before us. I hope I'm getting this right. I'm telling you the truth as I know it, so it must be real. Yeah, they put us, Elder Lynch and I, in there as Edinburgh zone leaders. Whitewashed us in there because Hardy and Bockel went home at the same time, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And so we went in there, and man, I loved that. I loved being in Edinburgh. It was amazing. So I was with Elder McKay Elder Lynch for. I keep calling him McKay. Elder McKay. I don't know why.
How do you not know your companions' first names? It sounds like you call them all by their first name anyway.
Akai Mackay.
Mackay. His dad was Scottish. Remember
That's
that?
Right.
His dad was a legit Scotsman. Him and I served together, and oh my gosh, we had some funny experiences. He is hilarious. He's maybe the funniest person I've ever met in my entire life. And I have not said one word to him since we left the mission. He's I'm calling him out right now. Elder McKay Lynch, you are the hardest person in the planet to get a hold of. Okay? I still love you with all my heart, but you're impossible when I'm mad at you. So him and I were together for 6 weeks. 6 weeks, because he was going home too. Man, I sent a lot of people home. And then he went home, and I got Elder Stringfellow,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Elder Stringfellow and I were only together. I am mixing this up. I know I'm mixing this up. Because this part gets a little messy because Elder Stringfellow was with me for only a few weeks, and then he got moved to assistant there in Edinburgh. And then I think that's when I got Elder Lynch, and he finished his 6 weeks because I was only with Elder Stringfellow for a few weeks. It was a weird transition. It wasn't a full transfer.
Okay.
And then Elder Stringfellow became assistant. And this part always blurs together for me because I was in the Edinburgh Ward for like 8.5 months. Because after I served with Elder Lynch for 6 weeks, I became assistant with Elder Stringfellow. And they moved new people into Edinburgh's zone leader. And then I served the last 6 months of my mission as the assistant with Elder Stringfellow and then Elder Lucas, who's an English kid who's just a total stud. I love him. He needs to be on this podcast too if he hasn't been.
He's scheduled for a couple weeks from now. We'll talk to him.
Oh, great. He's great. Don't tell him I said that because he knows he's great. But I'll say it again. He's great. So Elder Stringfellow and I served together. My Edinburgh zone leader stay was pretty short, and it was just different because they moved me over to assistant. I don't even know if I served 2 transfers as the EZL. I must not have done a very good job. So they fired me from that. And then they moved me over with Elder Stringfellow. And I was with Elder Stringfellow for 3 months. And the Edinburgh Award, did you ever serve the Edinburgh Award?
Nope.
That is a fantastic ward. A lot of good people, a lot of great families. I mean, I say that about all of them. They all have great families and good people, and they're just Scotland's just amazing. The church in Scotland is just amazing, and the more you get to know people there, it's just like, dang, you guys are like you have strong testimony because you are one of very few people who believe in this stuff out here. So it's just awesome. So I finished my mission. Like the last 8.5 months of my mission in Edinburgh. Man, had some amazing experiences. One of my most personal stories, amazing stories that happened to me. And I told this to the family. They came here to visit a couple years ago, and I told them, and they didn't even realize what they did for me. But we were having dinner at the Matiers, which was just an amazing family. They took such good care of us. I love the Matiers. I went to their son's wedding. He got married here in Utah, and they were here and went to his wedding. I was at their house, and we were eating dinner. We ate dinner there at least once a week. We had young kids who loved the missionaries. They loved the missionaries, and it was just amazing. And I got really sick, like super sick, and I ran out their back door and puked all over their garden. And their kids were like face pressed against the glass, just watching me vomit my brains out. And we just had corn. So their dad would always be like, dude, you left corn in my garden for months. You got to come clean it up. We have birds there all the time now. So I puked my brains out, and I was like, man, I am not okay. I am not, like, something's wrong with me. I went home that night. Sister Frederick, the mission president's wife, would check on me, and I was sick, really sick. And I had like 4 weeks left before I was going home. And finally I got out of bed after a couple of days. I'm like, I got to finish strong. I just got to do this thing. And we went to this is why I keep calling Elder Lynch, Elder McKay. We went to the Mackay's house, which is a family in the Edinburgh Ward. And we were sitting there, and the dad said to me, he had not heard anything about me being sick. I don't think I acted like I was sick. I tried not to. He said, hey, I want to give you a blessing for your health. And I was like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm fine. You know, as missionaries, it's hard to accept help because we're the ones always giving help, right? He's like, no, I feel like I should give you a blessing. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So he gave me a blessing. And from that day, literally until the day I stepped off the plane to get home, I wasn't sick for 1 minute. The day I got home, I started puking my guts out again. And 4 weeks later, I had to have my gallbladder removed because it was so messed up. And
Oh my gosh.
it was amazing. It was a miracle. It was a total miracle. And I told them when they were here, I said, hey, you need to know something. That blessing you gave me, like, I do not want to get surgery in Scotland, but where healthcare is free. So they would have just like rammed a fork in there and spun it around like spaghetti and yanked it out, giving me Tylenol. So, yeah, I'll never forget that story either. There's a lot of stories I'll never forget, but puking all over the garden and then getting a blessing where seriously the next day I was puking off my balcony at my house after eating Costa Vida. I remember it that clearly.
Oh man.
So yeah, I mean I loved it. Those were so all my areas: Peterhead, Dundee, East Kilbride, Edinburgh, 4 areas.
Wow.
That's amazing. Jack, you served in East Kilbride, right?
No. I served in that zone. I served in Cumbernauld.
What zone?
That's
What
right.
was it? Oh, it was the Glasgow zone, obviously.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I was in the Motherwell district, but the Glasgow zone.
Motherwell. Ugh, Motherwell.
All right. Well, one of the things that we've recollected on is your memories of the Vrains, and obviously you didn't have very much time with them. So, you tell us about your experience with President and Sister Fredrickson.
President and Sister, yeah, President and Sister Fredrickson were amazing. He was a man of few words most of the time. Very stoic. When he could get him to joke around, he was really funny. But he was a spiritual giant. He was a spiritual giant. I don't know if you know their story, but they weren't even called as mission presidents originally. They were in the I think they were in the MTC, correct me if I'm wrong, as senior couples of some sort, and got changed to mission president. And that's kind of how they treated the humility that they had towards the missionaries. I mean, he was just they were just so great to the missionaries. They loved the missionaries. But also what I loved is they challenged us. They challenged us hard to reach our goals. And that spread like wildfire throughout our mission. And looking back, it helped me a lot because we had goals. He was a very goal-oriented mission president. And it was at that time, it is what that mission needed. And I loved him. I got to know him really well. We had a great relationship. And they challenged us. They definitely challenged us. And only made fun of me a little bit when I failed my first driving test, which is normal, by the way. Okay.
Not for me.
You passed first time?
Yes, I did.
Respect. I'll tell this story. I was in the car with Roy Peckham, who also I'm going to call out, who, no kidding, I'm in the back seat of the car. The lady says, pull over. Pulls over, fails him, gets out of the car, and we drove back home. I was in the back car like, you are such a loser.
That's
awesome.
Man.
See, my experience, this is a unique story, and I'm recollecting this now. I can't remember what area I was in. I think I was in Montrose at the time when my driver's license expired. I was with Elder Marsh or Elder King, one of the two. But and I went for my test, and the guy who gave the test was like, and I went in my street clothes, and he goes,
"Yeah,
oh, you're one of those missionaries from Edinburgh." And I said, "How do you know that?" Because I wasn't wearing my tag; I was just in my clothes. And he goes, "All you Americans from 51 Spylaw Road, I know exactly who you are." And so immediately I was like, okay, I'm in trouble if this guy has this stigma of these other missionaries that have tried to pass their driving test. So my memory was like I had practiced and I had driven the majority of my mission at that point. So I was pretty to do with driving. And the part that I got hung up on is he said, slam on your brakes. And I slammed on my brakes, but I didn't hit him hard enough. So I kind of eased to a stop and I stalled. Oh. And there was a lorry coming behind me. So I hurried and jumped it and popped back into gear and went off. And at the end, he goes, I was about to fail you because of that lack of abrupt stop. But the way that you quick started and went again is the reason that I'm going to pass you. And I was like, yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Man. That's awesome. Oh,
I mean,
you think about I'll be driving here with my wife and I'll go through, if there's a street line with cars and a car come my way, I'll go through and not even think about it. Just think, oh my gosh, you're going to hit that car. I'm like, no, I'm not. Trust me, I've grazed mirrors in Scotland. You get so good at it.
I mean, I've told my wife that a million times. She's like, you've got to slow down. It's a small space. And I'm like, I could drive a lorry through the eye of a needle, I swear, because I drove in Scotland.
Yeah. Seriously, it's crazy over there.
Yes, it was. Good experience, though, overall. Well, that's awesome. Besides your companions that you've already called out, and obviously we've reached out to a number of them, one thing I'm going to ask for your help on is that because I went home 6 months or so into your mission, there's a few of them that you served with that I don't remember. I mean, I don't remember Elder Stringfellow very well or Elder Bockham, but all the rest of them I know fairly well. So our goal with this is that when we publish it, I want you to share it with them and say, hey, reach out to these guys and come on here, because that's the way that we can continue to branch out a little bit beyond just Jack and I's generation. But is there anybody else that you can think of in the mission that you would like to hear from?
Yeah. Elder Johnson.
Do you know his first name?
After Jeremiah. I know it sounds fake, but I'm pretty sure that's his first name. Really tall, tan guy. I'm calling you out, Johnson. You've got Elder Lucas already coming on. I'm trying to think some of the younger guys that were there. Have you talked to Elder Halford?
I've reached out to him, and he's willing to come on. Yes, so he's on the future.
He's great. Elder Bockham for sure.
Do you remember his first name?
Chad.
Chad. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what he's up to. And then trying to think. Elder. Have you talked to Brett McCullers?
I've reached out to him, but I haven't heard back from him yet. So, Brett, if you're listening, check your messages. If you've got in contact with him, Quinn, make sure that you reach out to him.
Him and I were DMing on Instagram, so I'll hit him up again.
Okay, cool.
I slid into Brett McCullers' DMs.
And I'm sure he loved every minute of it.
He did. I'm sure he did.
No, I would love to have him come.
We need to get everybody on this. Everybody who served in the SEM can take an hour and get on this podcast. It's fun to talk about.
Yeah. One thing, I did reach out to Stuart Pattenden. I know that he's in a production that's started this week and is running until mid-September in England. It's I think he's in an ensemble of some sort, commemorating Queen. So all the English missionaries, This is a shout out to check that out if you're in the areas where he's performing, because it looks like it's going to be pretty cool. And then Elder Peacock is on the horizon. I've talked to him. So we'll talk to Peaky. If you still have contact with Streeter, though, definitely reach out to him. Streeter was in my group, actually.
Yeah, I served with him too.
I haven't talked to him in forever.
Spencer Streeter.
That's right.
I wonder if we're friends on Facebook. Facebook?
Yeah, he does. I've messaged him on there. I just don't know that he's seen it. So, but yeah. Anybody else you can think of?
Elder, have you reached out to Elder Stainton, the English missionary, David Stainton?
I have reached out to him, but I have not heard back from him. I think he lives in China now, right?
Oh, he's a world traveler.
Yeah. He's a good one. I liked him a lot.
What about Brady Cassidy? Have you reached out to him?
I haven't. But if you are in contact with him,
I talk to him all the time.
Cool. Awesome. Anybody else?
That's all I can think of off the top of my head. Man, it's been a long time since I was on my mission. Wow.
Yeah, it has. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this is that, you know, you were home in 2008 and it's August of 2022. I mean, it's been 14 years. You're just an old man.
I know. I know. I am an old man. I've got an 8-year-old, man. I am an old man. I'm baptizing my own kids now.
I have a near 8-year-old too, so I understand where you're at. One memory I wanna come back to of you that sticks out in my head is you coined the term in the most royal of ways. You banned it to the point where it was absolutely tattooed on my brain that I said it all the time when I came home. And now my dad, I kid you not, I mean, this is January 2007. My dad still uses that same term to this day because I said it so much when I came home because I was around you so much.
Oh, yeah, dude. I remember staying at your flat before zone conferences.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, we had a heck of a time.
Yes, we did. Too much fun to the point where
probably.
Oh my gosh. And then the other memory that sticks out in my mind, and Jack appreciates this and obviously missed that because when we went and had our P-Day zone activity where we played Capture the Flag at Slane's Castle.
Oh my gosh.
Do you remember that?
I forgot about that. Yes, I remember that. That was such a fun activity. We could have fallen off that cliff, no doubt about that, but we were going so hard.
We were. I mean, and if you remember, I can't remember who Elder Howard was serving with at the time, but he and his companion saved. Was it Elder Ray?
Yep.
Yeah, they saved up their miles to drive from Elgin specifically for that activity, and I'm pretty sure they brought the Inverness elders too. I was showing Jack before. This is one of my favorite pictures of you.
That is not me. I don't know who that guy is.
That's definitely you. Get out of here.
I can neither confirm nor deny that is me.
For those listening to the podcast, please reference the YouTube video, but I have a picture of Quinn sitting on the edge of Slane's Castle with his pants at half-mast.
Dude, I have a picture from that same day. Do you remember that archway? I climbed up on that archway, and me and somebody else are sitting on it.
I do remember that. I'm trying to remember.
Right, exactly.
I mean, this was our crew. This was down in that dungeon room, and I put it on the timer. If you remember,
is that Elder Hess right there?
No,
Elder
not
Ford.
Yeah, Elder Ford and
Tomlinson. Was he in there?
Elder Gustafson was his companion at the time.
That's right. Holy cow!
So, and then
that was fun.
I think you were with Price. Like Price is stuck in between you and Ford.
That's right. And Elder Harlow right by me. Wow, yeah. That is a throwback, man.
Yeah, Elder Harlow's another one.
I've put on a few LBs since that day.
I'm sure we all have. There's no doubt about it. Elder Harlow's another one that will come on in the future too. He's busy with stuff right now, but he's coming on in the future. So.
Well, guys, thank you so much for doing this. You guys are great for doing it. It's awesome to be able to reminisce about all those good days.
Well, I mean, perfect example was you came on here and you're like, I'm not sure what I'm going to remember. And you were rattling things off as if you'd talked about all those things for every day for the last 15 years. I mean, it's amazing these conversations, how they stimulate those memories, and the Spirit brings back those things that are of such importance. It's really just a cool thing that we're really privileged to be part of these conversations with you. So thank you for giving of your time to just talk and reminisce with us. We're all brothers in Scotland, brothers and sisters in Scotland, and that's a unique thing that we really share that not many people can say they have. So we love you, and we're so glad that you took time to be with us tonight.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate your time. That was fun.
All right, Quinn. We love you. We'll be in touch with you soon. Have a good rest of your night.
Love you guys. See ya.
All right, see ya.
See ya.